Hey divas, welcome to Pink Table Topics. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Put me some ones in the chat and let me know you can hear me, please. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Happy Tuesday. How is everybody doing? Okay, I see some ones in the chat. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Pink Table Topics. I am your host and good sis, Pink Diva. Thank you so much for joining me. As you're pulling your seat up to table, don't forget to hit the like button. Feel free to drop down and leave a comment. Engage in the topic and turn your bell notifications on so that you will be notified each and every time I drop a new topic. As you know, our mission is to create a safe space for women to gather as a community, engage in healthy dialogue regarding real life issues that we as women deal with on a daily basis, but most importantly, to foster the true meaning of sisterhood. And if you are here, that means you are subscribed and representing the Diva tribe, and not just any diva. We are divine, we are inspiring, we are valiant, and we are admirable. Welcome to the table, divas. Happy Tuesday. Did everybody have a great weekend? How's your day? How's it going? Happy Women's History Month. This is the month of March. Happy Women's History Month. This is a call to action to ensure that all women's voices and contributions are recognized and celebrated. And as we reflect on our roots, we also support, protect, and amplify our diverse voices in history, making sure that we as women, our history remains visible. We remain valued and celebrated for generations to come. So, with that being said, make sure you are doing something to celebrate yourself as well. Happy Women's History Month. As you know, I have to go up and greet everyone that's in the chat. My sis Chit Chat with QT was here. Thanks, Diva. Thank you so much for modding for me. You know I love me some you. She says, welcome, Divas. Thank you for pulling up to the table. Please hit the like button on your way in. Click the notification bell, subscribe to the channel, and share the video. Yes, my mod, Teresa Bright, is in the house. Hey, Diva. Thank you so much, sis. I appreciate you for being here. You know, I love me some you. Hey, let's be clear. Thanks for joining. Hey, Betty. Betty says, happy Tuesday, everyone. I made another lap around the sun yesterday. Happy birthday to you, sis. That is a blessing all in itself. Did you celebrate? I hope you got out and did something and celebrated yourself. It's always a blessing when we can make it to see another day, let alone to see another year. So happy birthday to you, sis. Hey, let's be clear. How are you? Let's be clear said, hi, Teresa. She's getting stronger by the day. She's walking more each day. To God be the glory. Thank you for checking. Yes, glad to hear your mom is doing better. And it is a blessing. It is a blessing. Hey, CDW, she's in the house today. Thanks for pulling up to the table. Marshannon is here. Hey, Diva. Thank you. She said, woohoo, finally caught alive. Yes, thank you so much for joining, sis. I appreciate you for being here. Mama V is in the house. Hey, Diva. Thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate you for being here. Did everybody have a great weekend? How's everybody's day been? Oh my goodness. I was just talking to sis earlier, and listen, this 9 to 5 has been getting their money's worth out of me. Do you hear me? They have been getting their money's worth out of me. We have been working, but it is Women's History Month. Make sure you are celebrating not only the pioneers that were here before us, but make sure you're celebrating yourself. Make sure you're doing something for you, celebrating your sisters. It's about sisterhood, and it's about just women as a whole. So make sure you are taking the time out and do something special for yourself. And that we should do that every day, but make sure you are doing that this month for the month of March. It is Women's History Month. I am not going to hold you long today. We have a good topic. Oh my goodness, we have a great topic today. We have a great topic. Sis said, woo, baby, been working like a Hebrew. You know that's right. They are definitely getting their money's worth. And we're just going into the third week. I'm sorry, the third month of the year, and they have definitely been getting their money's worth. Let me tell you. So we are going to go ahead and introduce our topic. I know Aunt Debbie is still live over on her platform, so I appreciate you all for being here. I appreciate it. Hey, Reen. Reen is in the house. She says, "Hey, Pink Table Topics mod and chat. Thank you for joining, sis. I appreciate you for being here." Hey, CC. She says, "Hi, Pink Table Topics, chit chat with QT and Teresa and chat. Thanks for joining, sis. We appreciate you for being here." We got an interesting topic today, y'all. We are talking about toxic mothers. Toxic mothers. Teresa said, "Thank God you both are working like a Hebrew, because some folks losing their jobs." It is, and it is so unfortunate. It is so unfortunate. I have a few friends that work for the federal government, but as of yet, thank God, they have not been affected and have not lost their jobs. It's definitely a blessing with who we have in office right now. We don't know what's going to happen from one day to the next. It's unfortunate, but this is who they voted for. And of course, we're the ones that are catching the backlash for it. But yeah, we're definitely grateful to still say that we have a job to get up and go to, whereas there are some people who can't say the same. So you're absolutely right. Again, so toxic mothers. Let's get into this topic and why I wanted to talk about this. This topic was inspired by the recent situation that's going on between the two sisters from the group Escape, Latasha and Tamika Scott. As some of you may know, they have been at odds with each other for quite a while, and it was actually brought into the spotlight during their filming of that reality show they had, SWV and Escape, the Queens of R&B. If any of you watched that, that aired back in 2023, I want to say. But just last week, there was some more controversy surrounding these two sisters because Latasha did a cover of Chris Brown's song Residuals. And in her cover, she seemingly threw out some shade against her sister, Teresa. Teresa, I'm saying Teresa because I'm looking at Teresa's name in the chat. Tamika. And some folks thought that the two sisters was possibly on the verge of rekindling their relationship and moving past the drama. Because if you can remember, one of the main issues with them was that Latasha and her husband had stolen money from Tamika. And that was addressed on the show. And basically after that, that's when all hell broke loose, right? But without getting into all of the ins and outs of that, I wanted to focus on a piece that was brought, that actually brought this topic up for today. And that's the mother. When the sisters fell out, the mother took Latasha's side, and she too has been acting funny with Tamika as well, because she felt like she shouldn't have aired this out for the world to see when they were on the show. Tamika actually did an interview with the Ricky Smiley show last week, and they asked her if she and her sister had made up. Because if you listen to the song, you would think that they were possibly on the road to mending their relationship. But the part that piqued my interest was when she was asked, and she said that they still haven't spoken. And that show was back in 2023. But she did say that she did extend the olive branch to her sister and say, "Hey, whenever you want to talk, I'm here. We can talk." And she also mentioned that the last time she saw her sister was briefly at a family gathering where she walked in with her mom. And when they saw Tamika, they both turned around and left. So with that being said, that's why we're going to talk about this mama. But let me pull up this interview real quick. Let me share my screen really, really quick. Let me pull this up. Can everybody see that okay? If you can see that okay, let me know. If you can see that on the screen. And I am going to play it. Oh, yes, sis said put up the copyright disclaimer. Okay, my copyright disclaimer is here under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. All topics are for entertainment purposes only. The information presented in this live video shouldn't be taken as fact. Everything is alleged. Everything is alleged. Thank you, sis, so much for reminding me. You know, I just be going on and talking. But we're going to listen to this.
It really is. We haven't, talked. She hasn't called me. My number's the same. The address the same. So if this is real, sis, pull up. I'm cooking now. Pull up. Let's do breakfast. Because the last time I saw her at a family function, I was on the dance floor jamming. Her and my mom walked in, and when they saw me, they walked out. And that kind of hurt me a little bit because I felt like that was the proper. I feel like, we around family. Time. And if any type of reconciliation, I felt like if she probably walked up to me, I probably would have just fell in her arms crying. But her, I'm good.
So tell me what your reaction is to this, because I called you. I was happy. I was like, everything finna be worked out. And you said,
you know what? My sister's voice is undeniable. You know what I mean? I always said that she was my favorite singer. She's going to always be my favorite singer. She definitely ate vocally.
Yes.
But in real life, I think it's a genius marketing strategy for her new music. It really is. We haven't, talked. She hasn't called me. My number's the same. The address the same. So if this is real, sis, pull up. I'm cooking now. Pull up. Let's do breakfast. Because the last time I saw her at a family function, I was on the dance floor jamming. Her and my mom walked in, and when they saw me, they walked out. And that kind of hurt me a little bit because I felt like that.
Okay. What do y'all think about that clip? What do y'all think about that clip? And as I was listening at this, which is why I wanted to pull today's topic out of this, because to me, right, sis, I was just about to say that. Tamika sounds like she's really, really hopeful and really, really wishing that they could rebuild their relationship, because like she said, she's already extended the olive branch, and based off what she saw here, she told her sister, like, pull up. She texted her, you can come when you want to. But the thing that is so disheartening to me is because it's the mom in this. Again, we're talking about toxic mothers, because as a mom, and you see and recognize this friction going on between your daughters, I feel like the mom is a part of the problem, because you are siding with the other daughter against the other daughter. This is why we're talking about toxic mothers. So my question to you all, do you think that the mother is in the wrong in this situation? Do you think mothers pick sides when it comes to their children? Because I have two daughters, and I tried my best to make sure I never picked sides, nor did I show favoritism. But I have seen it done more times than not. Sometimes I do find that there are instances when you have to be harder on one child versus the other, because sometimes they just don't listen. We know how these kids can be. Some kids are easier to raise and are just unconfrontational. Then you have those that are hard-headed, don't believe fat meat is greasy, as my grandmother used to say, and you can keep telling them the same stuff over and over again. None of our kids are perfect. We get that. And even we as parents aren't perfect. And this could be for those of you who are stepmoms, moms, aunties that had to take on the role of mom. So not necessarily you having to birth a child, right? So this could be anybody that's playing the mom role in the lives of these children. Even with that, you should never make your kids feel like you're making a difference, because in the interim, that could cause friction between the siblings. My girls were both like night and day, both of them totally opposite of each other. The youngest didn't ask for much. She would listen. She would even reach out and say, Mom, I need some advice on how and what she should do about certain stuff. The oldest girl, on the other hand, at the time, she wouldn't listen. She thought she knew more than you do. You know how sometimes when they get of age, they start to think that they know more about what you're saying than they do. As if we haven't already lived this life and been there and done all of that. You know how they get, like, for whatever reason, they think we don't be knowing. So that caused her to have to bump her head a lot of times. And she always had to come back and say, you know what, I should have listened. You tried to tell me. And our parents always tell us that we'll get back what we put out through our kids. And we do, because my oldest daughter was the younger me, and my youngest daughter is the me now. I've gotten all of that stuff out of my system, but we get it back through our kids. You keep living, we get it back through our kids. But there would be times that she would make comments like, if Kiara asked you, you would do it, or etc. They failed to forget the last time I allowed you to do that thing that you was asking me to do. What did you do? Right? You didn't do right. So therefore you didn't get another chance. I said all that to say, yes, there is a difference in raising your children versus showing favoritism with your children. I could never sit up and disown my own child or make them feel as though I don't love or support them on any given day. There's a right and a wrong way to do everything. I would never pick a side with my girls. I didn't raise them to be one of my little friends. I was mama all day, every day. Even today, they know I'm mama, and I mean business. But I am their little best friend now. But they still do know that I mean business. We put all of that aside, but I created a safe space for them to feel comfortable enough to come and share their feelings with me and talk about what they were going through. Even when they have their moments of disagreeing with each other, I would always pull them aside and I would have hard conversations with them. And I'm the listening ear, and I let them vent and share how the other one made them feel. And then I would give them constructive feedback on how they should move forward and work through the situation. I was never a fan of just allowing them to just sit stuck, like not talking to each other, because, my spiel to them was, you're all you have. It's only the two of you. You're all you have. So whatever differences you have, work through that. So I don't ever just say, well, I'm going to just ride with this one because this was the easy child. And I know she's not lying. I know she's telling me the truth. I would never do that. I make them both equally feel like how they feel matter, and they both got my undivided attention. But as parents, we have to be so careful because we have to be mindful of the impression that we're making on our children. They take in everything. So we definitely have to make sure that we are considering their feelings, because they are human, and their feelings matter too. Because when I was growing up, I was so used to being like, if we went back and asked our parents, well, why can I do this or why can I do that? It was always because I said so. And parents didn't really just sit you down and have an in-depth conversation with you. So as kids, you just had to just hold it in, which later resulted in you acting out in some form or fashion. And of course, as we grew up and got older, they started to listen more, and they would talk to us more about how the things that they may have said made us feel on certain things. And I remember having a conversation with my mom once, and she actually apologized to me and said she knows she didn't always get it right, and she really just did the best she could at the time. And from that, I just wanted to always make sure I was everything my girls needed me to be for them. I get we have to parent. We want to make sure they're doing things they're supposed to do, not getting in any trouble or anything like that. But you still want to make your children feel like that the decisions that you are trying to make for them are actually for their good and not because I told you so. Sometimes when we are parents, we get stuck into, I don't owe you an explanation. Do it because I said do it. Don't ask any questions. My dad would say that a lot. No, we don't owe our kids any explanation, but you would think it would make it a little bit easier if you can kind of help guide them and give them some understanding about why you said what you said. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not talking about rewarding bad behaviors, because we don't do that, and not holding them accountable for the things that they did. I'm speaking more so about just being present with them and being present with and for them. I had a friend that I went to. She was one of my childhood best friends, still is to this day. She's still a great friend of mine. She had a very toxic relationship with her mama, and she would always come to my house. Like, she always wanted to come to my house. I didn't understand why she always wanted to come to my house excuse me. And it was times that I felt like, excuse me, let me drink some water. It was times that I felt like she was being a little clingy. So I didn't really understand why she always wanted to come to my house. But her mom never wanted her to have company. She always talked down to her. She would tell her that she was ugly. She belittled her, telling her she would never amount to anything, and just never really showed her any love. And at that time, when she was going through that, when I first noticed it, we were only in like the 7th or the 8th grade. Can you imagine being in the 7th or 8th grade and you're having to deal with the mom that's super toxic? Like, and she was a 2-parent household too. So her mom apparently was dealing with whatever she was dealing with, but she was the one that actually got the brunt of whatever her mother was dealing with, because her mom was very toxic. She basically told her everything that she couldn't do versus everything that she could do. And I always thought that that was weird, because I'm sitting there looking like, well, that's your mama. Because I'm looking at the relationship that I had with my mama and then listening at her, and I never understood why she always wanted to be with me and my mom all the time. And I remember my mama always telling me, she said, you know what? That's why it always pays for you to just be a good person all the time to people, because you really just don't know what a person is going through behind their closed doors. You really just don't know. And, I practice that all day, just being good to people, and just speaking life and being positive to people, and not just being mean to people, because people can be so mean in this world, and you just never know how one little thing you say can disrupt a person's mental or disrupt the person's life at whatever point. You just never know. So it just pays to be a good human to people on any given day. And, and then after she started sharing that with me, then I started to understand more about why she wanted to come to our house. And after we got into our like high school years, that's when she really started to open up to me and start telling me just how much what her mom would say to her really affected her. And at the time, I didn't even know that there was a thing with it being, I didn't know that toxic mothers was actually a thing. And it's hard for you to like actually see it until you've actually lived or been on the outside of it. And with her sharing this information with me, I was able to start paying more attention to the signs, and never understood why her mom was just so mean. But she had an older brother, but she never treated the brother like that. Like, you would think the brother was her most prized possession. He could do no wrong in her eyes. She bragged about like everything, all of his accomplishments to people, but you never would hear her talk about her daughter. And I thought that was always so disheartening for just as a kid, period, but especially with girls. You would just think that the relationship between a mother and daughter is just so, I think that is like one of the most sacred relationships that you can have, and that's between a mother and her daughter. And to just know that there are actually girls and women out there that really never experienced love from their mom, that they really lived. I remember having a friend once, and her mom was toxic because of who her dad was. Like, she really resented the fact that the dad left. He didn't stay once she got pregnant, and she really took all of that out on the daughter. So they didn't have a bond. They didn't have a mother-daughter relationship, because she would always tell her every time she look at her, she reminded her of her dad, and she had disgust for her. But at the end of the day, you chose to sleep with him. The kid didn't have anything to do with that. So to be mean and vindictive to somebody that you carried for 9 months and you birthed and brought into this world, regardless of how they got here, if you chose to move forward through the pregnancy and you brought this baby in this world, how could you not love something that you birthed? Like, I would never understand how a Hayla Dawn, thanks for joining, sis. How are you? So I never could understand how a mother could cause so much fraction. So when we're looking at Tamika and her sister, and you're the mom, but you're siding with Latasha, knowing that they did her wrong. But the mother, if you watch the show, which we're not trying to talk about the show, but I'm trying to bring the dynamics of what's going on. When you watch the show and when Tamika first mentioned to her, telling Latasha how she felt about, when you stole my money, I was pregnant, I was broke, I needed my money, I didn't have have the money that I needed. And then the mom was like, well, don't say that, and don't say that. This is your sister, like totally omitting how Tamika is clearly saying what her sister did and how it made her feel. The mother just sided with her and basically was saying, well, you don't know what she was going through, basically giving her an out. Like, even though you wronged your sister, you had a reason. So this is a mom standing in between both of their sisters. How is it that you feel the need to pick one side over the next? Like, how do you even feel? And I guess I can't wrap my mind about it because I'm not that type of person, and because I would never do it to my own kids. But how is it as a mom that you're so comfortable choosing one kid over the next, and both of them are your children? And I remember Tamika making a comment one time that the mom resented her because she still had a close relationship with her father. And I don't think Latasha has a close relationship with their father, but Tamika did. So it kind of seems like the mother is holding on to some sort of resentment. But just watching the show, and you can just hear, even when Tamika was on this podcast, you can actually hear the hurt in her voice. You could hear her longing, like when she made the comment and said, if my sister would have came over, I would have just fell in her arm. So it's basically showing that, like, she missed her sister, she missed their relationship, and she wished they could work it out. And I'm just really trying to wrap my mind around why, since 2023, the mother has not tried to somehow help them mend whatever situation they have going on, like suggest therapy or something. And there was a lot of money. It was a lot of money that she took. I get that. But the thing is, especially in where we are today, life is so short. Tomorrow's not promised. And you don't want to keep holding on to this kind of stuff, because if something happens to one of y'all, now we're living in the shoulda, coulda, wouldas. Like, we should have worked it out. We should have had a conversation. But I feel like anytime, and this is where a lot of times we go wrong, it's almost like we're not looking for resolution. We are constantly like okay with the drama. And at some point, somebody has to be the bigger person. And because these are both siblings, and I feel like they both feel they're right in the situation. But where does the mom come in with this? You're an adult, yes, but your mom is clearly riding with your sister. How in the world do you think that would make me feel to see that out of everything we've done for each other, been through, but mama decides to choose the side of my sister when my sister was wrong, and mom is not trying to help us come with a resolution. She's not talking to Latasha and say, okay, enough is enough, because my girls know what we not gonna do is this. Because at the end of the day, the only thing y'all have is each other. You're not gonna be outside of this house riding for your friends harder than you ride for your own sister. That's not how we're gonna do this in here, because sisters are supposed to protect each other. And can you just imagine the type of household this had to have been, living with basically a mother that I know that constantly shows favoritism to the next sibling? And I think Latasha is older than Tamika. I'm not sure. I think Latasha is the oldest. Regardless, how is it as a mother that you are okay with seeing your kids at odds with each other? Regardless of what the situation is, how are you as the parent, which you're supposed to be the example, how are you okay with your children being at odds with each other, and you're helping? You are part of the problem, because you're over there in her ear telling her, nah, I wouldn't call, she'll need you before you need her, and all of this kind of stuff. And I want to say her mom was something in the church or something at one point. I think I remember hearing that. And that don't give her no excuse, because some of them are some of the biggest devils that run to the church. But the thing is, at the end of the day, you're the mom. How is it that we get to the point to where we are allowing the things that we go through as parents to bleed over into our children, especially now that we know better? Because when we know better, we're supposed to do better. And I get a lot of times, back in the day when our parents, we were younger, our parents was basically just trying to survive, right? So a lot of the things we had to just suck up when they say we could do it because I told you so. We just as kids knew that, okay, well, if you told me so, that means you're telling me because it's for my good, right? But at some point, when it's certain situations, I feel like as parents, we need to be more open to allowing our kids to share their feelings with us, because, I may yell, or I may, my youngest daughter, I never had to spank her. I really could just look at her like I was upset with something that she did or said, and she would cry. The oldest one, like, we had to tussle a couple times. Like, I had to lay paws a couple times, and you discipline yours how you discipline yours, but mine turned out okay. But sometimes you have to just still make yourself, even out of everything that you're going through as the mom, you still need to make it a safe space for your kids to really just feel safe with being able to come and share stuff with you, because kids be going through stuff that you would never know if you don't give them the platform to actually be able to speak and talk about those things. I always made it my business every day when my kids got from school. I always asked them, how was your day? What happened at school today? Did you do this, that, or the other? Did anybody bother you or anything? Give them a platform to be able to openly share with you. But just imagine being a parent that wasn't like that, that did not give the kids the opportunity to talk about things that they were going through, which unfortunately is how a lot of these babies be ended up ABUs, because we're not paying enough attention to them and asking questions or allowing them to talk to us. But toxic mothers, like, that's, again, I can't wrap my mind around how that even come about, especially when these are your biological children. We've heard of this happening in like situations with foster care, talk about how the foster moms mistreat the foster kids. But I'm talking about your own biological kid. How can you live with yourself being this toxic individual, like basically blaming your kids for the life that you've had to live or the experiences you've had to experience because they came into the world, which they had nothing to do with, right? Let me read some comments. Keisha said, yes, we have to, because they'll start to say things like, you did this and that for the other. Absolutely. My oldest daughter was bad about that. She would always say, you did this, that, or the other. Excuse me. Teresa said, my boys were super close. They would defend each other over me. When my baby boy passed away, my oldest son had a fit. Even to this day, he still goes to grief counseling. I am so glad that he's still going to grief counseling, sis, because I can only imagine how he must feel losing a sibling. Sis said, my parents always treated us the same. Yes. Hey, daughter of Israel. Hey, sis. Thanks for joining. Keisha said, conversation is the key. We have to listen to them as well. Absolutely. Absolutely. Reen says, I wonder, was your friend the apple of her dad's eye and mom was jealous? I had a friend like that. Great point. She did have a great relationship with her dad. And again, this was a two-parent household. Both, let me clarify, both of her parents were under the same roof. And she did have a great relationship with her mom, with her dad. And I remember on days where her dad would just tell her to basically just ignore her mom. Like her mom, you could hear just fussing. We standing outside. You could hear her mama in there just going, having a fit, just about everything. And her dad would say, just ignore, or just go in the house and do what she say. And it was almost like he knew she was like she was, but what could he do at that point? But I just feel like that's traumatic because now the kid has to grow up with this. And even with Tamika, just staying on topic with them, she actually said that on the show. She expressed how it made her feel when her mom would pick sides. Hey, Brittany. Brittany Janae is in the house. Thanks for joining, sis. I appreciate you for being here. Chit Chat says, yes, that's sad. It is. Has anyone in the chat dealt with a toxic mom or know someone that had to deal with having growing up under the roof with the toxic mom? Keisha said she was wrong for that. She was. There's no way I would have walked. And again, this was a family function they were at. They were at a family function. Latasha and the mother walked in, and when they saw Tamika there, they turned around and left. How in the world could you, as a mom, be okay with that? And based off some of the conversation that was on the show, is some of that money that Latasha stole from Tamika, the mama spent some of it because some of it was given to the mama. So I feel like this is the reason why she's riding so hard for Latasha, because she know also that she used that money. Because again, this was the same mama that Tamika said was getting her residual checks and was not telling her that her checks was coming to that house, because at the time Tamika said she didn't know that she had residual checks that was coming to her mom's address, and her mom was cashing them checks. So that is so sad. Brittany said that they mama ain't ish, nor her wig. Girl, listen, her wig be jacked, don't it? Keisha said, crazy work. The mom should be ashamed. She does. And my thing is, do you think they'll ever be able to like get past this? Let's say, for instance, if Natasha and Tamika have a conversation and kind of try to work toward mending the fences between whatever they have going on. Like, where does their relationship, I wonder, would stand with the mom? Because that's a lot to come back from. I don't know if I get, every girl wants their mom. Every girl wants to have their mom. Lord knows I wish I had mine here with me today. And that's why I value mother-daughter relationships so much, because I miss mine. I lost my mom when I was 31 years old. And, and that's why I'm so super close with, like, my girls will call me. My oldest will call me in the morning before she get off work. My youngest will call during her lunch break after she get off work, talk to me all the way home, messaging me all day long. Like, they think they my mama. And we have a great relationship. So I could not imagine. CDW says, the mother reminds me of the Braxton's mother. I do see some similarities with the Braxton's mother, but I don't recall hearing their mom be mean to one versus the other. But she is toxic. And I say that because their mom is bitter. She is still to this day holding on to stuff that happened with her and her ex-husband. And those kids are grown with kids that are almost grown. So I do believe, what's her name? Mama Braxton. I do believe that I believe she's got some toxicity in her as well. Teresa said their mother was definitely wrong. Absolutely. Very wrong. A lot of our own folks are terrible when it comes to listening to kids. Totally. And I don't understand why. I often used to understand why. I feel like, yes, we're the kids, or our kids are the kids, and we don't owe them an explanation. But I just feel like the message would be received more if we actually did take the time out to have a conversation with them and just tell them, because how I was, and I know my mom was like, well, my mom never disciplined me. My daddy was the disciplinary in our house. My mama was the softie. But I would just always remember, even after my dad would have to discipline us for something, my mom always later, when my dad would go to bed or something, she would always come in and explain why he did what he did, and just telling us what to do going forward so that we wouldn't have to get disciplined the next time. So she was the one who would be soft enough to come in and try to tell us. And I feel like we should have that open invitation to just go. It is not about us being softies or us trying to give them an explanation or what have you as to why we're telling them to do or not to do a certain thing, but basically helping them understand why. You know, if I'm telling you don't do this, this, and that, tell me why you don't want me to do it. I get it's because you said so, but it would help if you would give me a little bit of feedback and telling me why you think it's a bad decision for me to not do this or to do something. And that's the open line of communication that I always try to have with my daughters, making sure that I can share and have open dialogue with them, telling them why I don't think something is good versus what the outcome I think it would be if they did move forward with it. Usually I'm always right. And they would have to come back and say, Ma, you was right. But a lot of times I know we just be trying to prevent them from having to go through some of the things that we had to go through, because a lot of things that they deal with, we've dealt with as well. And we are very well versed on how to handle it. I just think a lot of the things we're seeing today is totally different than what we went through. But I definitely believe that as parents, we owe it, especially moms, we owe it to our kids to have an open line of communication and be able to make them feel comfortable enough to come and talk to us. But I dare not choose one over the other. Dare not. Teresa said, excuse me, one thing my husband was firm on was us having dinner together so that we could conversate. The kids talk about their day and everything else. I totally agree. Hey, my degree is real. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you. Some moms cause a lifetime of hurt and pain, jealous of their daughters, talk down to them, discourage them. Some daughters are doomed from the start. I totally agree. And I believe that a lot of these girls go through those moments of um, self-esteem, low self-esteem, because it was stemmed from what they saw in the household or the love or lack thereof that they got from their mom. A lot of times, a lot of these insecurities was pushed off on them because these are experiences that the mom had, and they in turn are instilling these in the daughters, making them feel like, well, don't wear your hair like this, and that's not cute, and don't dress like this, or they're jealous of you. And if you have this, if you tote this bag versus that bag, and nobody will like you, and this, that, or the other. I do think that a lot of times these insecurities are coming from the mom. Hey, Al, thanks for joining. Thanks so much for pulling up to the table. I appreciate you for being here. Reen said, my parents always treated us the same too. Absolutely. Now, I will say my brother did get some favoritism because he was the only boy and he was the middle child. He did get a lot of favoritism coming from my dad. And I remember when we were growing up, it was things that my dad just would not let me do. And I would always ask, why you let him do it? And he was like, well, because he's a boy. He's a boy. I heard he's a boy so much until I was almost red in the face. Every time he turned around, he's a boy. He's a boy. I am blessed because Pam said, yes, that's so sad. My degree is real says, my mom tried to undermine me with my own father. And yes, my parents were married and we lived under the same roof. My parents had 4 of us, 2 girls, 2 boys. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what that's about. I hate that happened to you, sis. How were you? So being that you said that your mom did that to you, how did that make you feel? Like, did you ever get to a point to where you were able to have a conversation with your mom? Because again, as we were saying earlier, a lot of times, this is trauma. Dealing with toxic parents, period, but especially dealing with a toxic mother, which is what we're talking about today, that is trauma because a mom's supposed to be a daughter's first best friend. Like, we're then showing our daughters like how to love properly, how to love ourselves properly, how we're supposed to behave, to have good people, good friends in our lives. And I think a lot of what we see is a lot of these women are so male identified or so against sisterhood because they didn't see this growing up. They never was able to see and experience the soft side of being girl and being girly, right? And it's hard for them to get and keep relationships with other women because they didn't have that when they grew up. So I think that's a lot of trouble. Look at Tisha and her relationship. And I know we're not talking about Tisha and Wanda tonight, but just looking at them as being mother-daughter, look at that dynamic. Look at the dynamic that Wanda has with Tisha. A lot of Tisha's insecurities stem from her mom. A lot of the ways that she feel about other women and as well as herself. Tisha is a person that has very low self-esteem for me. And then if you look at the Latasha and the Tamika situation, Latasha has very low self-esteem. She is one of those ones to where she's been married to this man. This man that had a couple babies on her. She's still with him. This man has helped her cheat her group out of money and stuff, deals that were on the table. And she's constantly going, like, a lot of this stuff, just like listening to a lot of what they went through. Her husband was the mastermind behind a lot of this stuff, which caused the friction between the two sisters. And and the mom just jumped right in and she supported Latasha and her husband to go against her sister. And they basically outcasted her because, of course, she pulled pulled the cover off of them, basically. And the mom didn't like it. So now she's still siding with the other sibling. Teresa said $30,000 is a lot of money to steal. I would be hotter than a firecracker if I was, listen. Girl, she about would have got them paws, her and her husband. Here, Reen said, I have an auntie that was a toxic mom. Her oldest son looks exactly like his dad. And after his parents divorced, she treated him bad. She treated her other two kids great. I'm sorry to hear that. How is he now? Like, how did he cope? Because I know that has to, especially if we're all in the same house and I'm seeing mom constantly on my neck about something. And I do get that some kids, like I said earlier, some kids are harder than others. Some kids you have to discipline more than others. Some kids you have to stay on their necks because they just don't get it. Some of them have to just keep knocking their heads up against the wall before they finally get it. Whereas some kids are easier. Some kids you can just tell one time, don't do this or do this, and they'll do it the first time. And it's seemingly to the other child that's being disruptive, they kind of will feel like you're showing favoritism because you don't yell at that one. Well, you know what? I don't have to yell at your sibling because they do what I say when I say do it. You, on the other hand, it's always a battle. So, of course, I may have to raise my voice more or discipline you more or, take your phone or whatever the case may be. But being able to just blatantly say, I'm a toxic mother or I'm actually showing favoritism visibly. Now that's a whole different ball game. A whole different ball game. And I'm not talking about just discipline, because if I discipline one, I'm going to discipline both, especially if they both did the same thing. I'm not going to discipline one and not discipline the other. But if this said situation then calls for the other sibling to be disciplined, then no, you're going to be the one that was disciplined. My Degree is Real said, I'm a daddy's girl. I was close to my dad. My mom probably was jealous of that relationship. I've oftentimes wondered if mothers get jealous of the relationships the kids have with the dad. I'm wondering if there's something missing, if they feel like maybe the dad is showing more attention to the kid or to the daughter than what she experienced, maybe. I'm not sure. I just wish people would talk more. Communication to me is like top tier, and that's in any relationship. Parental relationships between you and your kids, sibling relationship, girlfriends relationship, boyfriend girlfriend relationships, husbands, wives. I feel like communication is so overlooked a lot of times. If we just have a conversation with each other, we could have resolved our issues a long time ago. A lot of this stuff that we're carrying, a lot of this baggage that we're carrying and we continue to hold on Two, I feel like if we just had a conversation and you listen to understand instead of listening to respond, so that we can work through this and move past it, get away from all the toxicity and the negativity. I feel like if we just have conversations with each other. Hey, S. Horton, thanks for joining, sis. I appreciate you for being here. Thank you. Thank you. Teresa said, my dad was the disciplinarian too when needed. Absolutely. It was always my daddy. Hey, Miss Lady, how are you? Thank you so much, sis, for joining. Af said, raising hand. My mom was toxic. My childhood was stressful because my mom was more concerned about me becoming a teenage mom like she was, but I wasn't even sexually active. Great, great point. You know, now, when it comes to that, I was a teen mom as well. I was pregnant at 16. My mom was not. But when I had my girls, because I had girls, that was always like a stressor for me because I was making sure that my girls didn't have, a kid early as well. But I wasn't toxic with it. I just really had a conversation and stressed the importance of them making sure, for one, don't have sex without marriage. But of course, we can preach that until we're blue in the face. Kids gonna do what they gonna do because we can't watch them 24/7. But what I did and the way that I went about it was I basically shared with them about a lot of the stuff that I missed out on because of having to be a mom too soon and having to grow up too soon. Even though I had support, though I did have a village, it was always, you still gonna go to school, you still gonna graduate, you're going to college, you're doing all of that stuff. So thankfully I still had a village behind me. But there were things that I missed out on. And that's going to be one of our topics too, talking about teen pregnancy. So that's definitely one of our topics that's on my list. But I was able to have that conversation with my girls, just basically telling them, if you bring in a baby into the situation, all of these dreams you have about going off to college, you may have to put them on the back burner a little bit. You may not be able to, you may have to sit the first year out and then go a little bit later, because the thing about it is the life kind of is in a whirlwind when it's the girl that's having to carry the kid at a young age versus the boy. He goes on with his life, do what he's going to do, because my ex went right on to the military, and here I was still stuck and having to figure out if I'm commuting to school, staying on campus versus all of that kind of stuff. But I was able to have that conversation because I was traumatized behind it and really wanted to share my experience and what I went through as being a teen mom with my girls. So that always did freak me out. And it was almost like going through reliving it again when they were nearing the age of 16. I'm like, oh Lord. And I was like, well, we got to have a conversation. Let's just talk about it. And I was one of the happiest evers when my girls made it past that year 16. I know still today, baby, my girl's grown. I have no grandbabies. I have no grandbabies, and I'm not a parent that pushed them to have children. They can have them when they want to have them. My oldest daughter says she ain't trying to be nobody's baby daddy, baby mama. If he can't get his stuff right before the baby comes, then ain't no baby coming. So she's content with not having kids. My youngest is married. They're not thinking about kids right now because they like to travel. But they made it past that point. And I was able to kind of woo-saw a little bit because, like I said earlier, my grandmother used to tell me that the things that I did when I was younger, I was going to get it back in my kids. And I was like, Lord, I did some stuff that y'all don't even know I did. I hope I don't get some of that stuff back through my kids, because it would be a mess. It would be a mess. So I was glad that, I didn't have to go through all of that. But I'm sorry to hear that you had to deal with that from your mom. And how were you able to get past that? How were you able to move past knowing that your mom was toxic for that reason? Let's see. My degree is real says my dad was the disciplinarian too. Somehow, because I was the baby, the last one, I didn't get as much as my other siblings. Okay. Yeah, my dad was the disciplinary in the household. We didn't have to get it often, but we were hard-headed sometimes because my dad was really strict. My dad was really like, he ran our household strict military. Like everything had to be done a certain way, a certain time. We had a schedule. Like he was very strict, and I was the baby girl. So um he was very strict, but my brother just got away with everything. Everything. You hear me? Hey, Betty Boop. Betty is in the house. Hey, Diva. Thanks for pulling up to the table. We appreciate it. How are you doing? Sis said a lot of old school parents lacked communication skills, their way or the highway, or like you said, sis, because I said so. Absolutely. You know what? That's exactly what it is. They lacked communication skills. They were more so in survival mode than I feel like back then they were trying to just really make ends meet without us having to feel that we were going through things. Like I tell people all the time, we weren't rich by far, but we never lacked anything. And my daddy got me anything I wanted. Anything that we asked for, we always got it. Whatever our Christmas list was during the holidays, we just told my daddy what we wanted and we always got it. So, but we never knew if there was a struggle, we never knew that there was a struggle. So I think that's more so where their hard work came from. They didn't have they didn't have communication skills, but they were working their tails off behind the scenes, making sure they made ends meet and that we didn't actually lack anything. I think that's where it was. Hey, Gia, thanks for pulling up to the table. We appreciate you for being here. Daughter of Israel said, some people just didn't deserve to have kids and they had them anyway. I tell my children, be very careful about who you lay with because some people don't love themselves. That is, listen, I can't tell you enough how many times I have had that conversation with my girls, making sure that they be careful who you have. Because once you have these kids and bring them in this world, and my oldest daughter actually told me that's one of her fears is that she's going to have a baby with somebody and then the relationship goes downhill. Because typically when a baby comes, that's when the relationship starts to sour in most relationships. And that's the reason why she hasn't been so open to wanting to have kids. But you definitely have to be careful who you have kids with. You need to do your research on these people and check their mental stability, check their family history. And because again, a lot of times I've seen so many instances where a lot of these young girls and or women feel like if I have this baby, I can trap him and he's going to be with me and we're going to be this big happy family. But then when the baby comes, they see that the baby didn't actually keep him and now they don't want the baby anymore. Now you brought this baby in the world with the wrong intent. You only had the baby purposely. Some of them got pregnant just because they thought it would keep the guy there. But once they saw that the baby came and the boy still left, now I don't like the kid because now I'm left here with this kid that looks just like you and we're not together and I don't want to be bothered with this kid. We see that so often. We see, and this is where all of this toxicity starts to formulate because for one, you had the kid with the wrong intent. Some of them don't even be needing kids, and it's so unfortunate that I feel like some of these people be having kids that don't need kids when you have women who are desperately wanting to have kids and they can't. I think that's so unfair, but we see this all the time. We see this every day. Daughter of Israel said, I told her how she made me feel, but she wouldn't admit she was at fault. Yet when she became sick, I was the one who moved to be close to her so I could take her to her doctor's appointments. I'm sorry to hear that she didn't accept any, and I feel like in her heart, she knows that she was wrong. And one thing that's so hard for us to do as a culture is to accept fault in the things that we do. Some of us, not all of us. It seems to be so hard for us to do, to admit that we were in the wrong so that we can both heal and move on. Because I feel like if she had have admitted it, that was an opportunity for both of y'all to get some resolve and actually be able to move forward and try to rebuild what was broken in your relationship. And it's usually always typical. The one that they do the worst is always the one that ends up having to take care of them when they're older, because the ones that they put up with and allow to do this, that, and the other don't be thinking about them when they get sick. They're all about taking. What can you give me? What can you do for me? So at least you were able to tell her how she made you feel. And I hope you were able to get some sort of release out of actually being able to speak that, because, a lot of times people will make us feel a certain kind of way, and we second guess actually even bringing it up to the person. So I feel like that should have been, and I hope it was, you were able to get some release from actually being able to share how you felt with her, even though she probably would never admit how she made you feel or to say that she was at fault. Hopefully, you actually being able to speak it out you were able to get some release from it. Hopefully. Daughter Israel said, yes, that's sad if a mother is jealous of a relationship her child has with the other parent. That's not mature. It's not mature. And I see a lot of people our age still doing not so mature stuff at our big age. Hey, Lady Virgo. She said, hey, beautiful sunshine, sis chit chat, taking it one day at a time. Tomorrow is my baby anniversary when she went home to be with the Lord. Oh, sis, we are so praying for you. We will hold you in our prayers. We love you. And just think on happy moments. Think on happy moments about the time that you shared with your baby. But we definitely praying for you, because I know that it's hard. Grief is hard. A lot of us have experienced the loss of a loved one. I have not experienced the loss of a baby, but baby, let me tell you, and I don't know how I would react. So our hearts go out to you. We're praying for you. We love you, and just stay strong. Think on the good times. And I pray that God gives you strength to get through the day and that you will be okay. And just know that your sisters over here love you. We love you. We love you. We love you. Hey, Reen, am I behind? Reen is just speaking to people. My degree is real. Said I have no grandchildren either. My only child is 24. Oh, one baby, 24. My youngest will be turning 31 in October, and my oldest is 37. So I have no little babies. Daughter of Israel said, my kids are 31, 21, and 19. No grandchildren, and I'm good with that. Girl, me too. Because, baby, listen, Granny be outside, and Granny don't be stuck in the house babysitting. I always tell them, get a husband or a wife first so you can raise them kids. Absolutely. Absolutely. Hey, Aunt Debbie. Thanks for joining. I was over there in your chat for a little while. Great show, Aunt Debbie. Teresa said, my dad bought us everything too. My stingy mom was like, they didn't need that. Just kidding. Love my mom. And that's the one thing. I don't think either of my parents were stingy. My parents, so I was the kid that I would ask my parents one time, and if they told me no, that was it. I didn't go back to revisit it. If they said no, I just left it alone, and I started to just try to figure out how I could come up with it myself. But my brother was a whiner. They told him no, he whining all day long until they finally did, and then they finally got it. And even though my daddy would tell me no, he may not have gotten it for me that day, but he would always get it. I still always ended up getting everything I asked for without even asking again, because I was just that kid. I'm not going to ask you twice, and I'm still that way today, which I rarely even ask people for stuff. I'm the person to where if I'm asking you to do something for me, it's the last resort. I have exhausted all measures trying to get it myself. And that's the only way I would ask you. I have never been like that. Daughter of Israel said, I was raised by my grandparents. They were strict on the girls and not the boy. Always. Girl, I don't know what is going on with how, especially, and I grew up in the South. they were way more strict on us than they were the boys. It was like the boys could do no wrong. She said, I asked my grandmother why one day, and she said, because boys don't bring babies home, but they send them to other people's house. You're right. They don't bring them home, but they send them to their other lady's house over there. They still be out here reckless because we couldn't get the babies if the boys wasn't helping us get the babies. My degree is real said we never lacked either. My dad made it happen. He was in construction. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. Great. That's a blessing. She said, child, now more than ever, you have to know who you're dealing with now. Absolutely. You have to know. Sis said, Granny told the truth, though. Yeah, Granny told the truth. Wasn't no babies coming home here, but they was going somewhere else. He was sending them somewhere else for sure. Teresa said, I be seeing them people on 600-pound life who had toxic parents. At the end, they find out that by holding on to all that trauma, they just eat to cover the pain. Some turns to drugs and alcohol. Yes, that's very true. And I feel like that's a lot of the reason why so many people grow up as adults who are not able to move in society. It's so much trauma that a lot of people, a lot of times we grew up saying what goes on in this house stays in this house, and they always want to sweep stuff under the rug, and nobody wanted to hold anybody accountable. And I feel like that's why a lot of these growing up in those toxic situations and not allowing people to verbalize how they were feeling, I feel like that's why the society is as bad as it is, because you're dealing with a lot of unhealed individuals. And then now that trauma spills over into relationships that they're getting in. They weren't able to open up and share those experiences with anybody when they were younger. So now it spills over into a relationship. And now here I am dating, this person or vice versa. And, we're going through all of this trauma and all of this toxicity that is stemming from a childhood that was unhealed. And I don't think that's fair to those of us who, are not dealing with any of that baggage. And then we're having to be in relationships with these people and not really knowing and understanding where it's stemming from, but it's coming from childhood trauma. Lady Virgo says, good night, my beautiful sisters. I have a bad headache. Love y'all. Praying for you, sis, and we hope you feel better. Take you something, make sure you feel better, and just know that we love you and we are praying for you. Have a good night, sis. We love you. My degree is real said, me and my daughter buck heads sometimes, but best believe I apologize when I've done her wrong, and she apologized. Absolutely. That's what it's all about. We're not above apologizing. And I think that's where a lot of us, hey, Sandra, thanks for joining, sis. We appreciate you for being here. A lot of people, I think a lot of parents, a lot of mothers, I don't know why it feels like we feel like we can't apologize. And I feel like kids deserve apologies too, because sometimes we do stuff or say stuff in a manner that we shouldn't say it. And I feel like we owe them an apology. Again, we can't act like we are above human in our own household and expect that we're raising children that's going to one day go out into society being adults that are, just like what we're raising in the household. So if we want them to be able to go out and live a good life in society, we still need to make sure that they know what it feels like to receive an apology when someone has wronged them. They know what it feels like to give an apology when they know that they've wronged somebody. It starts at home. It really does. The training starts at home. It really, really does. Sandra says, love this topic. Thanks, sis. We appreciate you. Teresa said, nah, I was going back and ask again. She said I was the oldest, so I had to keep an eye on my brother and two sisters since they were younger. Teresa said, nah, you told me no the first time. Let me try again and see if I can get it. Listen, you got one time to tell me no. And I don't know. Still to this day, I do not like to be told no. And you know what I do to avoid it? I don't ask. I just work for it and get it myself. I don't ask people because I don't like to be told no. If you tell me no, I'll get over it, but I don't like it. My degree is real said, I asked once too, and if it wasn't forthcoming, I figure out a way to get it my own. Absolutely. Same. I figure it out myself. She says, I'm an Aquarius. I speak my mind and keep it moving. I don't sugarcoat nothing. I'm a Sagittarius and I do that too. I'm a Sagittarius and I do that too. But I just really, really hope, I just pray that they do get to a point to where they're able to mend their relationship. And I also hope that the mom at some point can be the one to help mitigate the situation between the two sisters. I'm not really hopeful in that area because I feel like the mom is a part of the problem that's drawing the wedge between the two sisters. Hopefully one day they will agree to, well, I know Tamika is open-handed with it, and hopefully Latasha, I feel like her situation is she's going through so much with her husband, and I feel like it's she don't want to admit her wrong in it because she deep down inside she knows she's wrong, but she don't want to admit it because I feel like people will come at her with the I told you so's. So a lot of times when people don't want to hear the I told you so's, they'll continue to be in denial about the role that they played in said situation. And she's not innocent in the situation, but I hope that before things go wrong, or before something happens, that they really can get it together, because that would be horrible for them, to either of them, to have to live with the guilt of not being able to get it right. The end result in any situation, regardless of who is with, the moms versus the daughters, the siblings versus each other, friends versus friends, with any situation, the bottom line should always be resolved. At the end of the day, there should always be an open line of communication to where the end goal is always resolved. We shouldn't want to carry, because carrying that stuff is heavy. Constantly carrying baggage like that is heavy. All of this negativity is heavy. All of this fussing and fighting is heavy. And who wants to wake up feeling heavy day in and day out? At some point, you should want to extend the olive branch. And again, you can forgive a person and move on, and that person never has to be a part of your life ever again. But if you do your part, extend the olive branch and say, you know what, we had our differences. For the things that I did and you felt that I wronged you, I apologize, or whatever. You may never get an apology. But the thing about it is doing what you need to do to make sure that you feel good about yourself with the situation, so that you will be able to live a happy and healthy life, whether it means that person is in my life or not, whether it means that our relationship is back on track the way that it used to be. It may never be. But the fact that you were able to talk through it and you got resolved for yourself, you've forgiven that person and you moved on, whether y'all are cool or not at this point, you were able to release it and get it off your chest, because that stuff is heavy. It's stressful. Stress kills. We don't want to be carrying around any unwarranted stress if we don't have to. So if we can do whatever we do to get some resolve in the situations, and the mom and Latasha may not ever come around, but to me, Tamika sounds happy. She sounds happy. She's out here doing the thing. She's still traveling with the group. They're still selling out arenas. She seemingly has a great relationship with her husband. I see them a lot together on her social media. She has a good relationship with her girls, and she seems to be moving past it, but I still know and believe that this is a sore spot for her. Of course, what sister does not want her sibling to be, sharing in building memories? What sister would want her mother, what daughter wouldn't want her mother to be a part of her life and to be able to enjoy life? Her mother is, an older lady, and anything could happen at any given day. You know what I'm saying? We never know what tomorrow holds. We never know if we're even going to live to see tomorrow. So if there's anything that we need to fix today, we should make it our business of trying to fix those things today and not continue to let this stuff boil over and continue carrying this stuff, because, one thing you don't want to live with is the guilt of the shoulda, coulda, wouldas. Then you're going to be at a situation to where, well, I should have went ahead and picked up the phone and had that conversation. I should have, just stop by to see her. I should have did this or that. That's the one guilt. It's already stressful enough to have to grieve the person that you lost, but it's a whole different level when you're grieving plus guilty about something that went on that you could have fixed if you tried to fix it. So let's try to let go of that stuff and let's try to fix things when we can fix. The key again is always resolve. How long? Like, what's the end result? How long are we going to continue waddling in whatever this situation is going in? And if you are a mom that is treating your kids different, do better. Do better, because kids see this. Kids sense when something is right. Kids can sense favoritism. Kids pick up on that stuff. They may not ever say anything until they're older, but kids can sense when you are seemingly loving my sibling more than you love me. And it has nothing to do with material stuff. It's the time that you put in with the kids. It's the way that you hug me. Like, you don't ever hug and kiss me before bed, but you always hugging and kissing my sister before bed. Like, kids pay attention to that stuff. And I just I don't understand what could even get a mom. Like, you bonded with these kids. You carried these kids for 9 months. And for you to birth these kids, and then you are okay with treating the kids because of something that you're dealing with your own personal life. Like, the kids didn't ask to be here, regardless of what the situation was between you and the father. The kids didn't ask to play a role in any of this, because both of y'all could have left the baby where it was. Because both of y'all could have chosen to not be together and not procreate and bring a child into yet your toxic situation. And then now this toxicity is spilling over onto the kids. So we got to do better. We got to do better. I am blessed because Pam said, my mom and I are very close. My sisters are jealous of our relationship. My mom and I talk every day. When they call my mom, they would say, I know you're on the phone with your fave. That caused friction. Absolutely. And again, like, did they try to call and is talk? Like, when she calls to talk to them, are they available to talk? Or you know what I'm saying? My mom, me and my mom used to talk every day. She was my talk to work every day. That I was on my way to work. That's my fault. That was my phone call. I was calling her as I was on my way to work every day. And still to this day, my dad is my early morning call. He calls me. If I don't call him, he calls me every day. And if I hadn't called, he'll call and he's like, you didn't call me today. And I was like, yeah, Dad, I was going to call you a little later. But I had that relationship with both. I'm a daddy's girl to heart. I love my mom, but I was a daddy's girl to heart. So I had a great relationship with both my mom and my dad. But even growing up, seeing my dad show favoritism to my brother, because that was like, I feel like that was his fave. He would never admit it, but I feel like my brother was his fave because that was his junior. He's named after my dad. That was his boy. That was his boy. I guess my daddy said he was glad he was able to have another boy in the house with all these girls. Sis said it really would be horrible. Yes, it really would. Hope they can get it together. Sis said mom need her behind kicked. I mean, kicked twice, double kicked, as the bird would say. She really do, though. I really wish I just really wish somebody could like really mediate and talk to the three of them to kind of see, or even separately, to kind of see where their headspace is, because like I say, unfortunately, tomorrow is not promised. And that's one thing. It would be so unfortunate for you. And that's not even just them. I'm talking about us too in our real lives. If it's something that we feel like we need to get right with anybody that's in our lives, utilize that opportunity to do so, because we don't ever know if they or us will be here tomorrow. And we think we have time when we don't have time. A lot of times we say, well, you know what, I'll call her next week, or I'll call next month. We don't even know if either of us will have that time to do that, to get it right. So take the first step necessary to try to get it right within yourself. And if not doing it for them, and the thing is, it's not you doing it for them, it's you doing it for yourself. Healing is for you. Forgiveness is for you. This is for you to be able to release and let go of all of this baggage. You will be surprised at how good you feel if you're able to just drop this load that you've been carrying, so you can actually exhale and let go of some of this stuff. So do it for you. Teresa says, and now things are not going well with Tasha, and here she come crawling back. She needs therapy. Oh, she needs intense therapy for real. That husband of hers have pulled her into a lot of stuff, but I can't say it was 100% his fault because she was an adult. She was well aware of what he was doing, and she chose to stick beside her man. And yet he's out here, having babies on her still, doing stuff behind her back. And, he's just, to me, always came off as a shisty individual. Even when they talked about the things he used to do with the group, he's just always been a shisty individual. So hopefully she can be able to see, because one thing about it, your sister will always be your sister. These men will come and go, but your sister will always be your sister. And you should always want to make sure you are righting the wrongs in the relationships that matter, for sure. My Degree is Real says, my dad was the loving parent, always hugging and playing with us. My mom was so grumpy. I have no memory of her being loving toward us. Aw. Do you know why your mom was the way she was? I'm sure you've been interested in wanting to try to find out what the issue was. I would have been interested in wanting to know, like, why was she always that way? Like, what triggered that for her? I'm quite sure it's something. I'm sure she was dealing with something as well. A lot of times we do be dealing with stuff, and if we don't share that we are actually dealing with something, it's kind of sad that the kids have to try to figure out, like, what's wrong with you because you're treating me different from the other kids, or you're not interacting with us. I am blessed because Pam says, no, they did not, because they were too busy. Mama V says, unfortunately, the mother is bitter. She's very bitter. She's very bitter because I feel like she's upset because Tamika cut her money train off. Because I remember on one of the episodes on the show, Tamika talked about, all of the stuff that she would do for her mom. I think Tamika is the one that bought her the house that she's living in, and talked about all of the stuff that she did for her, even when she really didn't have it like that, before the group even blew up. And I feel like, just like you said, I feel like the mom is bitter. I feel like she's bitter because Tamika cut that money train off. Tamika isn't being financially available to them as she was in the past. And the mama knows that Latasha ain't got it like that because her husband is still out here lying and scheming like he always have. And I feel like she's feeling that, and she's holding that as resentment against Tamika, as if she shouldn't have done what she did. You know how sometimes people get so dependent upon the things that you do for them to where when you set that boundary and you no longer do it, they become upset because they can no longer use you. And I believe that's the issue with her mom. She can no longer use Tamika, so she's bitter and she's upset. So she gonna ride with Latasha. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. I would never. I just wouldn't never. There's no way. I know it's because I'm different. We're all different. We're all individuals. We all have our own ways of doing things and the way we feel about things. But me as a mother, and I know how I am with my girls, I could never go to a family function, see my daughter there, and me and the other daughter just turn around and walk away and act like she don't even exist. I could never do that. But then looking at from Tamika's lens, I would be so broken. I would be so hurt to see my mama came in here with my sister, and because I was here, they both turned around and left. Neither one of them even acknowledged me, as if I don't even exist. That is hurtful. And I even hope that Tamika is in some type of therapy helping her to maneuver through this situation. I know she has her husband, but I hope that she's in some sort of therapy because that's hard too. She's on the receiving end, so that's hard too. That's really, really hard. My degree is real says my mom was the last of 6 siblings. She was loved by her siblings. They all had the same mother and father. That was great. That's a blessing. Teresa said, me either. I just wouldn't go. No way. That's hurtful and sad. It's very hurtful. I don't even see how she can go to sleep at night. There's no way I could go to sleep. Even when I would have to discipline my girls, or even as them with them being older, and I had to have a disagreement with my oldest daughter about something, or we had a heated conversation, not an argument, a heated conversation with me, because sometimes you just be so passionate about wanting them to do well and not wanting them to make mistakes, and then they don't listen. It's easy for you to yell or say it seemingly out of anger, but it's not, it's more so out of care. But just that tone can have them feeling a certain kind of way. And I remember having that conversation, a heated conversation with my oldest daughter once, and I remember hanging up the phone because she just didn't get it. And I was like, well, I'm gonna give her a time out, and we'll revisit this conversation later. And I remember I couldn't sleep. That bothered me that whole day, and I couldn't sleep. So I couldn't imagine their dynamic and how the mom is actually able to sleep well, knowing that you have a whole daughter out there, and you basically treat like a nobody. So I had to, the next day I had to call, like, I was upset because I really just want you to win. Sometimes these kids be so hard headed and really thinking we be against the things that they be doing. We be against them because we don't want them to have stuff, and not really understand that, what the area that we're coming from is out of care. We're coming at you like this because we care. We don't want you to go out here and do the same things your little friends are doing. We don't want you to make the same mistakes that we made. So if I feel like if I can put you up on game to avoid you out here bumping your head and not making that same mistake, then, that's why I'm so passionate about, trying to make sure I can get this through that thick head of yours so that you can hear what I'm saying. And as your mother, you should understand that I have your best interest at heart. Everything that I desire for you to have is you winning. I never will purposely say don't do it because I don't want you to have it, because I don't feel like you deserve it. It's because I feel like it's not the right thing for you. I would never tell you or try to steer you wrong because I'm your mom. I want to see you excel. I want to see you do better than I did. I want to see you out here doing your own thing. Don't get me wrong, my girls are doing their thing now, but we had those spurts when they were, growing up. We had to have those types of conversations to make them, just not go down the same path we did, because we've been there, we've done all of that stuff. I don't know, for whatever reason, they think because we old, we don't know what they go through. We don't know what they deal with. Like, girl, let me sit you down and talk to you about some of the stuff. Some of the stuff that I've went through and had to experience will blow your mind. You don't know the half of the stuff that I've had to shield you from, that you had no idea was going through, and they'll talk about like, my job ain't paying enough money and this, that. Girl, if I talk about some of the things I've had to go through with the jobs that I've had to work, like, they don't be knowing the half. And the things that they be going through, if we shared with them some of the stuff we've had to deal with, like, girl, I would blow your mind. Like, I'm not telling you this just to be telling you, like, I really went through some stuff and things that you never knew because I shielded you all from this stuff. So we protected you for a reason, because we didn't want you to have to experience those things. My degree is real said, in spite of how she was I loved my mother. I was her advocate when she got sick. Yes. And that's our job. A lot of times we won't always like the things they say, and we won't always like the things that they do, but we just have to understand, just chop stuff up. Because I remember my oldest sister was telling me about a falling out that her and my mom had, and she didn't talk to my mom for a while. And she was like, I finally came to the realization that, they did the best they could with what they had. She was holding on to some resentment for whatever reason. I didn't get into it because I'm looking at her like, girl, that's my mama. You know, you could tell me no wrong, but my sister is 7 years older than me. So I don't know, you know, what their relationship was before me. I just remember that my sister did stay with my grandmother for a long time. And I never knew why. I just felt like because my other cousins was there, which was her best friends, which, you know how you have the sister cousins. So I just feel like that's why she was always at my grandmother's house, not because there was actually any friction between her and my mom. But thankfully, they were able to work that situation out before my mom passed away. And she did share that with me. She said, I'm so glad that I was able to put that aside and have a conversation with mom before she passed away. She said, because I wouldn't have been able to live with that guilt. And that's what I'm saying. People need to just really make sure and just understand, like I say, tomorrow's not promised. Tomorrow is not promised. You got to do what you need to do for yourself, because that is something that you do not want to have on your conscience. You do not want that on your conscience. So I'm praying for them. I hope that they're able to mend their relationship. Y'all know how I preach sisterhood all day long. So I could not imagine blood sisters who share the same parents being at odds with each other like that, and not being able to work through this difference. It's been going on for quite a while. It's a lot of stuff I'm quite sure is much more deeper than what our eyes can see and witness. I'm sure it's a lot of stuff that's going on behind the scenes between the mom and the siblings or what have you. But hopefully they're able to get some resolve. Hopefully. She said, my sis is 6 years older than me, and she had resentment for my mom, and boy, did she hold on to it. Yes, a lot of times, you know, we hold on to stuff, and holding on to that stuff is toxic too. When we hold on to that stuff, we become toxic, and we start spewing toxicity ourselves when we come into contact with people because of those things that we're holding on to. It gets in us, and you don't want to hold on to that stuff. Release and let that stuff go. Like I say, let it go for yourself. A lot of these things that we hold on with, it really isn't worth it. It really isn't worth it. Even like I said, if it depends, even if it's you releasing it, letting it go, forgiving them and moving on, and that person is never a part of your life. But if you can have that conversation, or even if you initiate it and they don't even want to talk to you, at least you tried. You can at least say that at least I tried. I extended the olive branch. They didn't want to take it. And it is what it is. You know, we can't make people do anything. We can't make people be receptive to us. We can't make people receive our apology. But if we do it and mean it, and they don't accept it, it's not on you at that point. It's basically like you're washing your hand and you're getting the blood off your hand with it. But if there's a role that you played in it, and you're trying to be the bigger person, just admit the role that you played in it. Ask for forgiveness, forgive them, and move on, whether they accept it or not. It's not on you. You know, it's the forgiveness is for you to be able to move on and be able to live through it. And if something happens, you don't have to hold on to it. You got to just, you know, let it go. You can't continue to hold it, because I've been wronged by a lot of people many times. But if we continue to hold on to that stuff, then we become bitter. We become toxic, and then we spew it into whoever is connected to us. So we got to let it go. Just let it go for us. And then eventually you'll get to the points of where we can be in the same room and you won't bother me at all. You can be a fly on the wall and I won't move. That's just how unbothered, you know, you'll eventually become when you release it and let it go. If it still bothers you, you still holding on to it. You haven't released it and you haven't letting it go. So if you can let it go and get yourself to a point of healing so that you can, like sis said, yes, free yourself, get yourself to a point of healing and free yourself from that situation, you will be so unbothered. You will sleep so good at night. You don't have to wake up thinking about it. You don't have to go to bed thinking about it. It'll be a thing of the past. Daughter of Israel said, I agree. And don't let spouses come in between when you're trying to mend these broken relations. Absolutely. And I think that's what Latasha's issue is. I think her husband is a part of the problem. I think he's there further trying to draw the wedge. I know he did that within the group, but I believe he's also, because again, she also named him as being a part of the clique that stole her money, along with the sister and the mom. So I feel like he's in her ear. I feel like, sometimes when you have friends or family members that are those no nonsense type friends and family to where you can't get nothing over on them, your spouse or the significant other that don't mean you no good, they can recognize that in them, and they're the main ones that'll be saying, well, I don't like you hanging with her, or I think they jealous of you and don't hang with them and don't tell them this and don't this, that, and the other. It's because they know that they can't intimidate them, and they know that if you talk to them for too long, they'll talk some sense into you and you will eventually leave that broken relationship. So I feel like that's what her husband is. I feel like he manipulates the situation. I feel like he's constantly in her ear telling her, that her sister don't mean her no good. And Latasha, when I look at her, she again reminds me of Letitia from Love and Marriage Huntsville. I feel like um, she has very low self-esteem. I feel like she has a lot of healing. I feel like she's went through a lot of stuff. Yes, I feel like she's had to deal with a lot of stuff in her marriage. I feel like she's broken, and I kind of feel like I feel like she wishes to have her relationship, but I feel like her husband is stopping it. I feel like he's one of the reasons that they can't mend their relationship. It's unfortunate, but I feel like he's the driving force behind that. Teresa said, yes, exactly. Let it go. Absolutely. My degree is real said, I'm working on that letting go, because I promised myself 2025 is the year I'm getting closer to God. Yes, I welcome anybody in a relationship with God. Most definitely. Release it and let it go. Again, do it for yourself if you ain't doing it for nobody else. No matter, it does not matter how they feel about it. It does not matter how they look at you. You got to do what you got to do for yourself. We only have one life. We get one time to make this thing right. And, considering the temperature of society today, we just don't know what's going to happen from one day to the next. And the last thing we want to be holding on to is bitterness and toxicity. You got to cut this thing off at the head, because if you don't cut it off at the head, it'll continue to travel down the rest of the body parts. That means if the mama is the toxic one, sometimes you got to cut them off. You got to cut them off because it'll continue to be a problem. And anytime you're trying to get resolved and there's always somebody there in the middle that keeps trying to draw the wedge, they're the problems. That's where the toxicity is coming from. So sometimes you got to let them go. It's unfortunate we can't take everybody with us, and sometimes that means your own family members. Sometimes it may mean mom and daddy. Like, I love you, but you're too toxic for me. And I know it's hurtful because everybody desires, especially every kid desires to have their mom and they desire to have their fathers in their lives. But sometimes this stuff is too heavy for you. This load is too heavy for you to carry by yourself. You got to pray about it, give it to God, and let it go. Release it and keep moving. And if it was meant for it to be, it'll be. If they can't own up to the part they played in it, it's not fair that you are the only one having to carry the load by yourself when you're not the one that even created the problem. You really just responded to something that was done to you, because how dare you tell me I can't vocalize how I feel about how you treated me? That's not how this life goes. So definitely do that. Do what you have to do for you, sis. We are rooting for you. We are praying for you. And to anybody else who's going through that, who's going through broken relationships from on any level, be it your mom, your dad, sister, brothers, friends, a relationship with your significant other, anybody who's dealing with toxic mothers and toxic siblings or any type of toxicity, free yourself. Release yourself from that situation. Pray about it, give it to God, because God sees all and he knows all. He knows about everything, that every role that everybody played in the situation. Ask him for forgiveness for whatever role you played in it. If they don't, if you still have the person's number, send that text message and say, forgive me for what I did or what I said, this, that, or the other. If they don't ever respond, at least you sent the message. Release yourself and let go. Release it and let it go. Stop holding on to it. Stop wondering if they'll ever come around. Stop worrying about them not talking to you or not speaking to you. And it is okay to be hopeful for those relationships to be mended. It is, but you can't force anybody, and you're only doing yourself a disservice to keep making yourself sick behind what's going on. So you got to make sure that you're taking care of yourself, because like I said earlier, stress kills. Don't be stressing yourself out about this stuff. Release it and let it go. Pray about it and give it to God. That's all you can do, is pray and give it to God. Daughter of Israel said, in the future, can we talk about being okay with being alone and healing ourselves before oh yes, listen, let me write that on my list. I got a whole list, girl. Listen, let me write that on my list. That's definitely a great. I may have that on the list already. But I'm gonna write it down here. Being okay with being alone. That's a great topic. Being okay with being alone and healing before moving into other relationships. Great topic. That's what I'm talking about. If y'all have some good juicy topics, send them, message me and send them to me. I'll definitely add them to the list, because that's what we're here for. And that's a great topic. Healing before we move into other relationship. Absolutely. I just had this conversation with my oldest daughter a couple days ago, talking about her ex-best friend. And that topic came up about healing before moving into another relationship. So that's a great topic. Great topic. Yes, it's let go if it's causing you pain, and let God. Absolutely. Yes, being okay with whatever comes. Absolutely. Yes, sis, that is a great topic. Hey, Kim, thanks for joining. She said, yes, I'll write about Tisha. Look how she let Marceau in between her and Kiki's first cousin. They are very shameful. That was very shameful. Absolutely. Absolutely. One thing I can say about my husband is he does not get in my relationship. He don't get into like my friendship issues, or, there are times where I have vented to him about, the way I felt about certain situations, but he never inserted himself in the situation. He never told me, to not talk to them or try to fix the relationship or whatever the case may be. He's never been that one that would just jump in and get in it. I think men like that just sassy. And I don't like a sassy man. I don't like men that be in women's business. And I'm not a woman that be in men's business either. I don't be trying to tell him what to do and how to handle his friends either. I'm just not that person, but I don't like a sassy man. Yes, Keisha, great topic. Yes, let go and let God. Love this topic. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Sis said, I've been in a healing state and love it. Haven't blurred the lines by jumping into a relationship. Absolutely. And I think that is so important. So important. Making sure we are properly healed before we start taking that back. Sometimes we'll go through something in a relationship and then we'll jump in with the next guy. And because of how the other guy treated us, we're holding him accountable. And, we giving him a hard time because we haven't properly healed from what we went through. And I think that is so important. Yes, sis, you have been doing an amazing job. You have been out here, listen, sis be moving and doing stuff in that house like she got a whole man in there, child. She out here playing the role of the man and the woman in the house. Sis be getting it done. You hear me? But I love it. I love it. Yes, sis has been out here healing and living her best life. Kim said, I'm enjoying the live today. Thank you, sis. I appreciate you. Daughter of Israel said, I believe that's why we have so many failing relationships, because of not healing. That's exactly why we have so many failed relationships. We don't allow ourselves the time to heal, because, some people just can't live alone. It's a lot of women, but we ain't going to talk about that tonight. We're going to put this on the list, and we're definitely going to talk about this. I may go ahead and put this on the top, and we talk about it next week, next Tuesday, talking about that. Because that's a great topic, being able to talk about healing before moving to different relationships. And a lot of that comes from men too. They be from one to the next. But that's a great topic. We're going to talk about that. So y'all make sure y'all come back next Tuesday, 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here at Pink Table Topics. We're going to talk about that. Teresa said, Chit Chat is doing really good. Her time went by fast. It did go by fast. Sister handling my business, honey. Yes, she is. She be running her business. Daughter Israel said, Miss Roadrunner Chit Chat. Listen, she gets it. You hear me? She said, now y'all know it's a man that's near, but I'm not ready for what he wants. Yes, absolutely. And you've been doing amazing by reserving. Sis is making sure, honey, because listen, we know sometimes if you move too fast, sometimes they start to get clingy. Then they start to get possessive, and they start, listen, there's a lot that goes into it, but sis has been doing an amazing job. She is definitely one that can tell you about how she's able to just maintain coming off of a divorce and being able to do the darn thing out here by herself without a man, for sure. For sure. Teresa said, and Chit Chat did all that without swooping nobody's head. She did all of that, child. She did all of that. Sis has been doing the darn thing. I have been so proud of her. I remember when we were on the phone with her when she was packing up and driving from Arizona to Vegas, when she was moving and left and ain't never went back. So sis did the darn thing. And I am so proud of her. I am so proud of her. Did you all enjoy our topic for tonight? Teresa said, Destiny got some products you can use if you get low. Girl, not that rose. She talking about the rose? She said, oh, but Aunt Debbie said they won't be here until next year sometime. Never mind, child. If you got to wait that long, you're going to suffer. You hear me? Child, we ain't waiting on no Temu rose. Gone away from us with that, Destiny. Sis said, amazing topic. Thank you, sis. I'm glad you all enjoyed the topic. I wanted to touch on it a little bit and talk about these toxic moms. I enjoyed you all dropping down in the comment section and just engaging in the topic. It was great. My Degree is Real said, great topic, had me crying, but good cry. Thank you. Aw, we love you, sis. We love you so much. Thank you for joining in on the topic. And I hope that crying meant some healing for you. Sometimes we just have to cry and release it. And when we can release it, it makes us feel better. It makes us feel better for sure. Do what you have to do for you to move forward for yourself. Make sure you're doing what you have to do for you. And that's for anybody. Make sure you're doing what you have to do for you. But I have enjoyed, we are 1 hour and 48 minutes in. This has been, time goes by so fast when you just get to talking. I don't realize I be talking that much, but I appreciate each and every one of you for putting up to the table and engaging in the topic with me. If it was not for you, there would be no me. So I appreciate you for joining in every Tuesday and coming over and making me feel good and just having you all to talk to. This is what it's all about. It's about us being able to share with each other. What Teresa say, the orange man coming on with his lies. Somebody needs to listen. Okay. I'll be passing on the orange man. I've been seeing over on YouTube, they've been had a lot of lives going on with him. I don't do him. I'm resting in my 92%, Teresa. Sis said, amazing topic and discussion. Thank you, Divas, for putting up to the table. please make sure to share the video with your friends and family. We hope that you all enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you, sis. Yes, yes, yes. And to the replay gang that'll be pulling up to the table later, I appreciate you for listening in. Please make sure you hit the like button. Feel free to leave a comment, share the video, like sis said, with your friends and family. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And again, to each of you in the chat, thank you for pulling up to the table. Thank you for rocking it out with me as always. I had a blast with all of my divas in the chat. And you know, over here, we all get a seat at the table because it's not about me, it's about us. Y'all have a good night. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Don't forget this coming Friday, 10 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time. It is March. I will be introducing my Spilling the Tea Business Edition segment starting this Saturday, not Saturday, this Friday. So if you are thinking about starting a business, if you have an idea of a business that you want to start, if you're currently in business, or whatever the case may be, these are the topics that you would want to be a part of. We are talking all things business over there. It won't be the regular Pink Table Topics segments that we had like tonight. It'll be strictly business, everything about business, right here on Pink Table Topics, 10 o'clock a.m., 1 hour. I am doing 1 hour, 1 hour segments at 1 hour segments. That's it. If you have a topic that you would like for me to cover, if you'll be joining me over there, feel free to leave me a message. You can DM me over on Instagram, Pink Table Topics, and I'll add it to my list. But if you are wanting to talk about anything business related, make sure you join Fridays, 10 o'clock a.m. Central Standard Time, right here on Pink Table Topics. And have a good night to everybody. Keisha said, yes, I'm in there. Yes. Let's be clear. Yes. 10 o'clock a.m. Central Standard Time. Central Standard Time. 10 o'clock this Friday. Right here, Pink Table Topics. Yes. Yes. Let's be clear. This coming Friday, 10 o'clock a.m. Central Standard Time. We're talking all things business. So if you want to get in the class, come to the class Friday. I'll be giving you some good information, good business related information. So all topics for that segment would be everything business. So if you have any questions that you would like for me to cover, just come on over on Friday, drop it in the comments, and I'll be able to address the issues or the conversations that you have. And again, this is going to be going forth every Friday, 10 o'clock a.m. And we're talking all things business. We're in a new year. It's a lot going on in society today with the person that we have in the office. We don't know how a lot of these 9-to-5s are going to be going. A lot of these people are being let go on their jobs. So it's about building legacy, and it's about us being, building businesses that we can have and fall back on just in case something do happen. So I'm trying to bring some information that you could use to be able to get these business started or help you maneuver in your current business. That's what it's all about. So I will see you all on Friday. Thank you all again for joining this segment of Pink Table Topics, and I will chat with you soon. Have a good night, and I will see you later. I'm tongue-tied. Have a good night, y'all. Let me go to the chat and speak to everybody. Good night, good night, good night. Thank you all so much for joining. To the best mods in the land of YouTube, Chit Chat with QT, my sis, Teresa Wright, my diva. Thank you so much for modding for me. I appreciate you. My degree is real. Thank you so much, sis, for being here. I appreciate you. We're praying for you. Reem Bass, thanks, sis, so much for pulling up to the table. I appreciate you for being here. Cece was here. Betty Boop was here. Af was here. Thank you so much for joining. Jill was here. I appreciate you all. S. Horton was here. Keisha was here. Have a good night. Have a good night. Miss Lady was here. Thanks for joining. I appreciate you for being here. Cece was here. Aunt Debbie was in the house. We love you, Aunt Debbie. Thank you so much for joining. We appreciate you. Lady Virgo was here. Deborah was here. Have a good night, sis. Thanks for joining. I appreciate you all. Let me scroll. Make sure I didn't miss anyone. I am blessed pecan. Pam was here. Thanks for pulling up. Lady Virgo. I think I called your name. I think I did. If I didn't, I did call Daughter of Israel. Reen was here. Thanks, Diva, so much for pulling up. Sandra was here. Thank you so much for pulling up to the table. I appreciate you for being here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Keisha was here. Thank you, Keisha. Thanks for joining. Thank you, thank you. I'm scrolling, y'all. I don't want to. Mama V was here. Thank you, Diva, for pulling up to the table. I appreciate you for joining us. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm scrolling. I don't want to miss anybody. Don't want to miss. I enjoyed this topic. This was a great topic. Hey, Kim. Kim was here. Have a good night, Kim. Thanks for joining, sis. I really appreciate you. I'm scrolling. Let's be clear. Have a good night, sis. Thanks for joining. Thank you. Yes, Keisha, this coming Friday, 10 o'clock a.m. Central Standard Time. Some of you may be at work, but you can keep me in your ear and you can listen in, even if you may not be able to say anything in the comments, but you can listen in on the ear. Go turn your notifications on. I already have it. I already have the thumbnail set for this coming Friday. So turn your notifications on so that you don't miss it. But thank you. Everybody have a good night, and I'll see you all Friday. Good night.